right, good morning. It is Wednesday, March 20. It's just 7:05 a.m. right now. Just getting started here. I've got three charts that are all great, and one chart that has one entry that didn't work very early in the overnight. So I'll just go with these four. I didn't find any others besides these four when I was kind of searching, so this will definitely be the four charts for the day, and if I lose them, that's the point I'll be done today. Today is FOMC day, so at 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, that news pops, and then 11:30. I won't be trading that late. Hey, Saggy. Welcome. So, typically FOMC days can be very slow. My charts, I think tend to be on the bigger side today. So the price action is going to be slow for me. Let's see here. Just going to take a look at the daily, see what that looks like right now. So far the EMA is holding on the daily. Yeah, it's dipped here below once, went back up, dipped here below once, going back up. So we'll see what holds here. Price is right now at an interesting level at the previous day close. So I'm gonna keep my eye on this. It's interesting. I was poking around looking at a bunch of different YouTuber streams yesterday. Streams or just review videos, whatever they do. And it seems like a lot of people had a tough day yesterday. And a lot of talk about how to handle losses and what they're going to do in those situations. So I just found it interesting because I was talking about that a bit yesterday too. Even though I had a pretty good day yesterday. It wasn't too bad. I didn't choose an account. This is the second entry off of the EMA and the previous day close. So I'll try that. Very stacked up, so hopefully this doesn't back up on me. Not looking looking good though. Never a good sign when it goes one tick, gets me into the trade, and then goes against me. We'll see what happens. All right, it's going to get me, I think. Doesn't seem good, but maybe, yeah, it doesn't look good, but sometimes I've seen it be like this before and then it still works out, but this is not looking good for me. This is actually the chart that had a loss in the overnight as well, so let's see if it can fight its way to giving me a win here. So it's going to trigger on other charts too if it goes another tick lower, below where I entered, so that would probably help me. Otherwise, all my charts will get burned at the same time if it does trigger down there, and I'll be done for the day. So let's see what happens here. He was trying to shake me out of this trade early. And that's why I don't mess around. I just stay in the trade and I either win it or lose it. All right. And I win it. So that was an interesting first trade because it felt really bad when it was pulling against me. But that's why I'm just willing to take the loss and I don't really mess with it. You know, I don't think about getting at break even +1 or anything like that. It's just going to be a win or loss situation. Now, definitely had some slippage on the, well, let's see. Let's say I got, so it's saying I got 11 ticks, but I did not get 11 ticks on, definitely my PA. I did not get 11 ticks. I think I got 9 ticks. All right, well, I will take it. Trade 1. So I took that on PA6 and Eval 35. What did I say? I think I got 9 ticks. I think that's the reality of it. So it would have been nice to get a little bit more since it did push more, but for whatever reason, a little slippage with my stop exit order. And let me update my stats, and this is now going to be 17 days traded here. This is now 12 days traded here. Let's do the stats. All right, so moving on. Look at that, account 35 back over the starting balance legitimately. So I've been pulling that out of the ground for some time. It was down to, it was within like 500 or 600 of the drawdown at one point. So still want to continue working on that. I'll go to PA2 next. And I did 2 accounts renewed last night, so 26 and 27. 27 is not too far from passing, but I just decided I'd play within myself and just give it the time to pass. So just pay an extra month, whatever. And 26 had been previously blown up, so it was reset and renewed to the original balance on the renewal date. Saggy says, we conquered yesterday. Today, market going to test our patience. Yeah, I mean, I think usually FOMC days can be really slow. And they can tend to be choppy, tend to be a tight range. So, I mean, there's a pretty big move from the open, and it already closed the gap of the previous day's close. So, you know, the thing for me too is when it's when you have all of these levels really close together, it can make it more difficult for me in my trading. You know, the open line is near the high of the day line. The previous day, previous day high is close to the previous day close, you know, and then the current day is low, not too much further below that. So I'm always going to be trying to make sure I have enough room trading in a direction. I'm not running into one of these levels, opening price or anything like that. So sometimes if things are bunched too close together, especially now that I've solidified that aspect of my rule, it might be hard to get into a trade. But having said all that, I did get into a trade within the first, what was it? What time was I in here? 12 minutes after. So within the first 7 minutes of my stream, I did get a trade. So so yeah, we'll see here. Any trades so far, Saggy? What time do you usually start, Saggy? Like, have you already been trading since the regular hour open, or which would be coming up on 50 minutes now? Oh, so the other thing I was going to talk about was, so I was checking out other YouTubers, and quite a few had a difficult day yesterday. And they were talking about how their losses affect them and the decisions they make after they get a loss, and whether, you know, some people say, oh, they should stop trading after their first loss, or some people say they should stop trading after their second loss. Some people just have a number, like, if I lose X amount of money in my account, I should stop. I just thought it was interesting to kind of hear what everyone thinks about doing. And the thing that was occurring to me is, you know, no matter what they were talking about, the loss was changing their behavior moving forward for the day. And I think that's valid. Like, I think it makes sense that, yeah, if you're just not having a good day, if you're not feeling the market, if you're entering trades that aren't working and getting losses, it probably is better to stop for the day. But then I was just like kind of thinking about them, the way they trade, and then about me and the way I'm trading, and about how they're using their accounts versus how I'm using their accounts. A lot of people I'm seeing are copying a lot of accounts So that's one thing. I mean, there's some people that copy like all their accounts. So if they have like 4 or 5 PAs, they're copying each trade onto all 4 or 5. So, it's like when they get a win, it feels like a high, because they're seeing all these green numbers across multiple accounts. And it's like, it feels really good. But you get one loss and then boom, now you've got the 4 or 5 accounts that are all red at the same time. And then that feels really bad, because it feels bad enough when you have one account that's red, but then you just multiply it, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, it feels really heavy when you see that many accounts turning red on you. So I was just thinking about how well my system is working for me in my account management with Apex, because yesterday, obviously you can see here, this account is now below starting balance. It's a PEA account, 25K account. And yesterday, this was the account that I took my first trade on, and I got a loss on it. And it didn't affect me. It stung for a second. Oh man, that sucks. I just got this account back over starting balance like this one is. And now it's below again. But I was able to continue trading, and what I do, I went on and got 3 wins in a row after that, and was able to end the day 3-1. And at the end of the day, because I did copy this one extra account, I was able to have 4 accounts that were green with only 1 account that was red. And so at the end of my day, I didn't feel bad at all. Like, I had the 1 red account. I was like, all right, well, I've still got 2 accounts that are on their way to a payout. I've got this one that, it's not in the best shape. It's not in the worst shape. I could still bring it back. And it was just like, all right, go on with my day. And it's funny, I didn't think about that loss the whole rest of the day like I used to. Back before I was doing it this way, not even having anything to do with my entry system, my trading, but just dealing with my accounts themselves. Like, usually when I would get a loss, I'd be thinking about that loss all day, what I could have done different. Should I have skipped it? Why did I take it? All these sorts of things, especially before I was trading the system, where now I'm playing the chart itself. If the chart is overall consistently working for my entries, I take the trade. There's not really much more thought process to it, other than just these key levels now that I've talked about already today. So it makes a huge difference in my trading, and I'm just really grateful that I've kind of discovered kind of managing my accounts this way, as well as trading the system, because one, I've taken all the analysis out of the individual setup. So other than, really just one simple rule, don't trade into key levels of areas of resistance or support. Otherwise, if it's a second entry, I'm supposed to take the trade. So for the most part, I just take the trade regardless. And then on top of that, if I decide to skip it, I either have a reason, like a key entry level kind of thing, or maybe something just doesn't look right. I'm like, all right, I don't need to take this one. Those are really the only reasons, or the only analysis of skipping or not taking a trade. But then if I get a loss, it's like, it's so much easier to handle getting a loss, because I'm not putting in like my own like subjective thought process on the individual setup. So it's a lot easier. I don't know, I guess it's like, I feel like less ownership over the loss. And I just say, okay, well, the chart was working. Every single entry was working, and this one didn't work. I got caught, And that's kind of what I said yesterday when I got the loss. I was like, oh, I got caught, But it didn't feel bad or feel like I did something wrong. So that changes the entire psychology. Also, I was watching a UK trader, and he didn't get any trades yesterday. And the day before, he blew up a couple accounts. And he talked about how he's just started revenge trading. And that's the thing too. A lot of systems leave you open to revenge trading if they're not like very strict black and white rules of entry. And that's another thing that I really feel like is working with the system for me, is my entries are exact. There's exact rules for when I get in, how I get in, and how I either win or lose. And I'm not like subjectively choosing how much profit I'm going to take or not take. I'm not like moving my target profit limit order multiple times, deciding, oh, I'll take this, no, I'll take that. No, it's like it goes a certain distance and I either get it or I don't. And then the same with the loss. I'm not messing around with my stop losses, right? So it's not like, oh, if I moved it over here, yesterday was a case where there's an actual rule. When my signal bar gets engulfed, I could move it to the previous swing, but it's only in that case where it gets engulfed. Like in this case, well, I can't use this as an example, but obviously this didn't get engulfed. But that's just the thing. So it doesn't leave room for me to start revenge trading, because there's kind of like a couple fail safes in my system. The first fail safe is obviously if I get a loss, if this trade was a loss, I'm not allowed to trade this chart anymore. That's a rule that I made up myself. My brother, who conceived the concept of how I'm trading these charts, he doesn't do that. He doesn't throw a chart away just because it got a loss. He might even take the very next trade on it. For me, it's like a fail safe. It's like, okay, the chart didn't work, whether it was just bad luck and it's going to work the rest of the day or whatever. When I took a trade, it didn't work. I'm putting it aside. I've got other charts typically to trade, and I'll just go to a different chart, But what that does is it doesn't let me just enter right away, right, on the chart, because it's doing something else. And then the other thing is, like, I'm only taking, valid second entries, So from here, from the bottom, it's a first entry below this candle, and then it goes back up here, and then the next time a candle ticks below is under the bar that where I entered. And so it's a very clear second time it's entering below, and that's my entry. And those are the entries I take. So I can't take another trade unless something like that happens. I can't take a trade if it's not a second entry. So I can't just enter based on just, oh, I think it's going to do this now or that now. And that keeps me out of revenge trading. So between those two things, it's like, if I get a loss, maybe I don't have any charts left, or I have to go to a different chart, different set of circumstances. And when I say a different chart, I'm only trading NQ. So it just means I'm going to a different size tick chart. I'm not looking for like, oh, I'm going to go trade ES now or trade YM or something else. I'm always trading NQ. Anyway, I just thought I'd kind of mention it today because it was, just interesting to see other people's experiences and what they do when they have losses. And like for instance, yesterday, if I had a 1 loss rule, then I would have had 1 account red, and then no accounts would have been traded. Otherwise, they would have all stayed the same, and I would have been wrapped up. It would have been within the first minutes of me starting to trade the day. And instead, with this system, I was able to improve 4 accounts, even though I had a loss that day. Let's see. Shaggy says he starts 30 minutes after the open. All right, so it's about the same as me. I try to start about 30 minutes after as well. In range, so decreased my position size. Yesterday, my first trade also lost $48. Second trade was up $133. For me, my losses are small and profits are big compared to, I guess you're saying compared to me, right? Yeah, that's good. If you're able to, if you have a way of trading where you can make up a loss in a single trade, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that's really great. For me, I'm going for a little bit more per trade. So, I mean, even though I only got 77 here, it's more a function of how my auto stop works. So there was a little bit of slippage on my auto stop. These trades usually should get me at least $100 per trade. Sometimes that doesn't happen. I also noticed that my Replicanto copier, they did an update that I never did do. I'm curious whether I should update it. Maybe I'll get better fills. I don't know. But yeah, it definitely helps Are you trading micro NQ? If you're getting a loss that's $48, it's hard to take a $48 loss on a mini contract. It's not a lot of ticks on one contract. But yeah, so, my loss yesterday was like 450, 430, something like that. I don't even remember, but yeah, I'm gonna get those losses sometimes where I get like a $400 loss. I mean, you've seen that on accounts where I'm trading 3 contracts, I can get a $1,000, $1,100 loss. But I'm just banking on the fact that my win rate is so high and the way I'm spreading trades through my accounts. I mean, ultimately, one day I want to have 10 PAs going at one time, and then a couple evaluations or whatever. So, out of 10 accounts, let's say I did get 10 trades in a day, I should have 8 or 9 accounts that are green and 1 account or 2 accounts that are red for that day, or if it's just about rotating through 10 accounts, no matter when I get through them, it's kind of the same theory. So, I'm going to have enough winners to get through enough accounts in theory to get them to payouts and qualify for PAs. And then some accounts are going to get either burned or they're going to get a loss, and it's going to take time to build them back. And, I think ultimately all my accounts will continue to be staggered. So, I mean, I've been trading this system since January 1st here on YouTube. And I haven't been trading switching accounts in this way the whole time. This is a relatively newer thing. But using this system, trading this way, I've passed 2 evaluations in that time, in the 2.5 months. And all of the profit on this PA2 has happened in that time. So, I'm going slowly, but I'm working towards the goal. I've now got a second PA that's, hopefully going to continue to be on its way. Got to build this one back up a little bit. And then at the same time, I've got another evaluation that's going to be very close to, well, it is very close to passing again to get another PA there, as well as this 50K up here is very close. And then a couple behind it that are, third of the way there. So that's really what I want to happen, is for everything to get staggered so that hopefully I'll get a payout on the big one. And then whether I end up losing the account or not, hopefully this one will follow behind not too long after for a payout. And at the same time, I'll be getting a new PA from one of these at least, right? And then it'll just continue to hopefully snowball and build. Sagi says, my win ratio is low and your win ratio is high. Different style, but in profit. Yes, trading M and Q. Okay, so you're trading M and Q. Yeah, you have a different style, which is all good. And so for me, for whatever reason, my psychology, like, I don't, when I have days where I get a lot of losses or weeks where I get a lot of losses, it affects me. I think the more times I get a loss, even if, I could make it up quickly in just one good trade, if I'm going to have, if it's possible for there to be a streak of like losses in a row, that will weigh up more on me than if I get, my one loss of the day that I lose $500 or whatever it is, in one of these accounts. Like, that doesn't weigh on me at all anymore. But if I were to, like I had that day, what was it, like 2 weeks ago? I had that day where I think I was 3 and 4 that day, if I remember. To have 4 losses in one day, honestly, it affected me, it affected me more. It definitely affected me more than the days where I've had 1 or 2 losses. The days I've had 1 or 2 losses, I haven't really thought twice, because I've had 6 accounts that were green or 4 accounts that were green in addition to the 2 that were red. So I didn't really, think about it. And sometimes the losses fall on evaluations that really don't matter or mean as much. So it's like I could get 2 losses on an evaluation no matter where they're at. But if I'm getting all green on my PA counts, then to me that's a green day, because I don't really care about the evaluations as much as the PAs, obviously. So, it's just whatever works for each of us. I mean, I personally, like, at the end of the day, we all just want to make money. But for me, I have an easier time being able to look at a win percentage and go, okay, well, I'm winning 8 or 9 out of 10, right now, overall, over here in the corner. Right now I'm winning 8 out of 10 overall, 4 out of 5 trades or 8 out of 10. So, and I talked about this yesterday, that over time, that 8 out of 10 could really be closer to 9 out of 10. Because I have created some additional rules to keep me out of some trades where I was noticing that the majority of my trades were happening in those areas. So I needed a rule to stay out of them. Kind of like if I was, okay, you can kind of say this is like a new high. So you can kind of say this is a first entry long and a second entry long right above this bar, the bar that I entered on. You could say if it ticks above that bar, you could go long as a second entry long. I wouldn't have gone long there because it was directly trading into the previous day clothesline. And that's the rule, because I've seen that, kind of like what happened here. The next bar, started going up and then it got rejected and started going down. Now, ultimately, it ended up going up. And if that was a trade I would have taken, I guess it would have worked. But I wouldn't have taken that trade for that reason, because I've noticed a lot of times this is exactly what happens is, that you enter and then it gets rejected and then it goes on to lose and go lower. So that's an area where it'll keep me out of a trade now. But yeah, let me see. Saggy says, yep, that day was dark. Friday to you, I think 4 losses. Yeah, I think 4 losses. It was the most losses I've had this year in a single day. I think I only had 2 losses in a day before that. Usually when I get a couple losses, usually it's at a point in the time where it's like, okay, it's the end of my trading session in terms of time, because I only want to trade to 9 or 9:30 typically. Or I run out of charts and I just can't trade anymore anyway. So usually I'm not able to keep trading after a couple losses. But that day, I think I was able to just keep finding charts. So I kept going, and it was tough, And so getting back to what I was saying is just, for my own psychology, it's like, if I was looking at a 40% win rate or 50 or 60% win rate or whatever it is, but being profitable, yeah, that would make it easier to accept that. But my brain, I would still be like, why am I not winning as much as I want to? That would be how my brain would look at it, is like, okay, I'm profitable, but I want to do better than this because I'm losing, if I was losing 6 out of 10 trades or something, that would bother me. So that's just for me, myself, and why I'm more comfortable with taking a bigger loss than my wins, and accepting okay, well, if I can win 9 out of 10 times, because what's going to ultimately happen too is once I got myself to profitable, or above break even, definitely once I got myself to profitable, I can start trading these accounts differently too, because if I'm profitable and I'm trading with Apex's money at that point, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start trading my evaluations heavier, because I'm not going to care if I lose an account. That's when my ultimate Apex trading system, my risk management strategy is going to come into play, right? Because then what I'm going to do is on my 25K accounts, I'll just trade 4 contracts at a time. I'll trade max contracts, and I'll be able to pass an evaluation in probably 3 or 4 trades. And the same thing on my 50Ks. I'll start trading them, not max, because if I was trading 10 contracts on my 50K PAs, it would be possible to lose my account mid-trade because of the size of the bars that I'm typically using as my risk management for the trade itself. But I could probably trade somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 contracts on the 50K evaluations where basically a loss will blow up the account or very close to blow up account. But I'll have enough room that, if the trade works against me, like today's trade, I mean, this trade worked against me. I entered it here and then it backtracked all the way up here, like all the way to the previous day clothesline, and then got rejected again. So, this bar was 54 ticks. That's 54 ticks of risk plus 1 tick because I put my stop 1 tick above. So 55 ticks at risk. And this thing, I mean, the high here was 72.50 and the high here was 69.75. So you're talking about, it went the whole bar up except for about 3 points. So I don't want to be in a situation where I'm over leveraging to the point where it can just give me a drawdown mid trade and take me out of the trade and blow up my account when I do that. I want to have enough room there, so I can't trade the full 10 contracts. Even on this, I think that 10 contracts I would have been fine in this particular case. But if I have an 80 tick bar, I'll get blown up inside that 80 ticks if it does that. So, but for me, that's going to be where I get to at some point. If I can ever get profitable, if I can ever get a payout or a couple payouts, I'm going to be really aggressive with my evaluations, right? I'm going to trade nearly max contracts, definitely max contracts on the 25Ks, 50Ks, just larger size. And then my PAs too, I'll be able to trade a little bit larger. I won't trade that large. Like maybe I'll do 3 contracts on the 25Ks and maybe I'll do 4 contracts on the 50Ks, just so that if I do get a loss on the PA, it's not one and done. Because I know my system, I can build it back up after a loss, even though it takes multiple wins. It's not hard for me to get multiple wins in a row, right? So that's what I'm thinking. Now, this is all in theory because I haven't done it yet, right? So we'll see where this gets to. But, my stats and my results so far this year in 2024 lead me to believe that I'm not far off from what I'm thinking. The question for me is going to be, how long is it going to take? Because right now, I'm going at a snail's pace, right? I mean, I'm getting a trade for $77 today, and I'm not trading that account today again, right? So that's a big part of why my process is so slow right now, because I am, after my renewals. So last night, account 26 and 27 both renewed. And the day before, account 33 renewed also. So that's $90 in fees, 3 times $30 basically. So I just got an extra $90 in fees in the past 2 days. And that brings me within striking distance of being into Apex for $2,000. I think I'm like, I don't know, I was looking at, I think it was like $30 underneath 2,000 or something. So I'm basically at $2,000 right now. So I really need to get a payout. I don't want to have a burden of, thousands and thousands of dollars, to make what I foresee being able to do, start to happen. I want to get the $2,000 back in my pocket, be break even or near it, and then get another payout, hopefully, have a little bit of Apex's money in my pocket, and then start putting that plan into action, trading these accounts that way. And I think that will, I'm going to blow more accounts, definitely going to go through accounts faster, but I also believe that I'll get to payouts quicker and I'll get to new PAs faster as well. And then hopefully that snowball effect will begin to happen. All right. In the meantime, having said all that, we're right back where we were when I started today. So had a move up, and kind of interesting where it rejected from to get pushed back down. Because it did make it through yesterday's highs pretty easily. I mean, it just shot right through it, but then it came right back down. So, not a whole lot going on in terms of my system. I imagine it's going to be that way for a lot of people today. Just was a little burst of something happening. Saggy says charts are not looking so great, so going to go outside. Right on. Hey, out of curiosity, Saggy, what charts do you trade off of in terms of, are you on tick charts, time charts, something else? Curious. Saggy says going to trade after FOMC if there's a setup. Yeah, cool. I mean, the FOMC news usually lasts quite a while. It gets really volatile for a long time. But yeah, I won't be trading that late. I'll probably be watching somebody stream if I can. Saggy says I trade based on spot chart. NAS 100. I don't look at MNQ. Oh, I see. Interesting. So you don't actually look at the MNQ charts. That's cool. All right, so if this ticks above this bar, which it just did, it's actually a first entry long, second entry long. Not a trade I can take because it's going right into the previous day close. So this will be another situation where I'm going to observe this and see what happens here. Because this is an area where when I was taking these trades, I was picking up some losses. I don't want it to be a loss right now because that means I'm going to lose that chart. And actually, it triggered on two of my charts. So I'm going to lose two of my charts if this doesn't work right now. But just not a trade I can take according to my newest rules. And if it does work, I'm not going to feel bad about the fact that I didn't take it because it's just a very observable, objective reason to stay out of a trade. So work or not work doesn't matter. It's a really easy decision to not take the trade. I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't work, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did work, but it's not worth the risk based on my observations. All right, so it's getting close to failing here, which is a bummer because that means I've got two less charts if it happens. Very close. And there, it would have lost. Now, in this case, it's also a point I can make that I could say I could move my stop to the previous low. I suspect that will get taken out too in this case, but that would be an option. But there you go. It would have lost no matter what. So right there is an example of why I invoked this new rule on my trading, because it wasn't too long ago where I had stripped all rules out of my trading in terms of the entries I take. And if I had a chart that was like this, that was winning for every entry in the session, I would have taken that trade. And it was just because of observing, okay, I'm getting more losses than expected. What's happening? Is there any kind of like common theme amongst my losses? And this was one of them. Was a first entry long, a second going long, right into the previous day close. Probably half or more of my losses I was noticing were happening in these situations, these kinds of situations. And so it was only just, I think, last week that I invoked this new rule for myself. It was a rule previously that I didn't really enforce 100%. But then just observing like, oh man, like I would have had half as many losses, maybe even more than half as many losses, or however you say that. I could have had at least half as many losses by just having this simple rule in place. And today you see that kept me out of what would have been a loss today. And instead it was just really easy to not even consider it. And my thinking again is just whether it works or not, I can't take the trade because I see it happen there more times than not. And I'm glad I put that rule in place because that saved me from a loss today. Now, the thing that sucks is now I can't trade on this chart anymore. And I had another chart where a very similar setup happened. Here, first entry there, second entry there. This one, it looks like it engulfed in one bar. But even moving it to a previous swing wouldn't have saved you unless you put it at the ultimate low swing so far. So either way, those two charts are off the table for me, which means I will move on to this chart, which is about to have a very similar situation. First entry long, and now it's coming back up for our second entry long if it triggers above this bar now. But it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be going right into that previous day close. Maybe it has a little bit more room, but again, I'm not going to take the trade on this chart either. As well as my very last chart. These are all very similar actually. This one, it ticked above here, just barely. So that was the first entry. And now if it ticks above when this bar closes, that would be a second entry long again, going right into the same spot. So it'll be interesting to see if either of these now are going to trigger. Now I hope that they don't, because I think there's more of a chance that they don't work than they do work. You can see my target is before the previous day close line. By a little bit, but it's still close enough that I'm not risking that kind of a trade for myself right now. So, I think no matter what your strategy is, again, I'm not here teaching anything. This is just my observations and how I'm trading, but it would be interesting if anyone else trades different than me ever notices these levels and whether it affects whether they take trades in those levels or not. All right, so let's see, this triggered. Yeah, it looks like it's going to work right now anyway. And this now triggered on my last two charts. So if this fails here on both of these charts, then that's going to be a wrap on my day. So I won't have any charts left. And I looked through enough charts to know that, the only way there's any charts for me to use beyond these is if I go to really high tick charts. The bars will be really huge and the price action will be very little. Look, it didn't get to my profit target and it's backing up. So we'll see what happens here. Yeah, I may just look at bigger charts if this entry fails here, just to see if there's an option, because I still would have an hour more to trade typically. But if not, it's FOMC day. And I knew today could be not a great day. And I'll be happy with my 1-1 for the day, I guess. You know, we'll see. This could still work out, and I'll still have 2 charts. All right, so I'm still watching this. It went far enough for my typical 11 tick scalp, but I have all of my ATM set for trying to capture more today, because I was saying today is a day that the chart's working for more than just my usual scalp. So it's actually just come up shy right now of where my stop would start moving in and locking in my profit. So in this case, I wouldn't currently have my scalp yet. And you can see it went up and perfectly touched that previous day clothesline and then got rejected back down. Not to say it still can't work, but this is why I have my rule in place that I just can't trade into this level, because there's clearly resistance there. I mean, there was resistance there. It broke through, it came back, and now it's trying to be resistance again. So, like I said, I do want to see this ultimately work, because in this case, even though it would have worked for my my smaller profit target, it wouldn't work for my larger one yet. And the market's pretty slow as expected today. So let's see. Yen at 66. So yeah, so it's gone 15 ticks in my favor. And that's the danger, by the way, when I'm going for more than just my typical scalp, because my stop wouldn't have moved yet to lock it in at this point. So there has been times where I'm going for a little bit more than my usual scalp, and it just comes up short of being able to lock in my profit because my auto stop doesn't move yet, and it turns into a loss. Whereas if I was just going for my regular scalp, it'd be a win. So I accept that on those days. But that's why I was able to, some trades you'll notice I get more ticks than other trades, and that's why sometimes I'm able to get like 20 plus ticks instead of just like 10 or 11, or in today's case, like I only got 9 ticks. All right, what's it gonna do? It's so slow. Does seem like it's gonna ultimately work here, right? All right, so that would have ended up working. And again, I don't feel any sort of way about not taking that trade. I think I'm way better off to skip it. This one happened to work, but we just saw 2 charts previously, a very similar situation where they failed. So, but that also shows you just, these tick charts are relatively close to each other, and how the same setup on one chart might not work, and then you have a very similar setup right afterwards on 2 other tick charts, and it does work. So I also find that interesting because there's so many people that just trade on only one tick chart. Like I was trained to trade only on the 2000 tick chart on the ES. I did that for 3 years, one chart, and it's like, fine, great. It makes it easier. You only have to look at one thing, but maybe you're missing out on a whole bunch of opportunities because you could be looking at multiple tick charts and trading off of all of them. I find it an advantage to have more options to trade. Right. I really don't have any kind of read on this market. I mean, it's just not a lot of action, not a lot of bars printing. Granted, I'm on larger size tick charts, but still, even for this size, usually there's a ton more bars printing. So I'll have to see how this day goes, but I wouldn't be surprised if the one trade today is the only trade I get. I'm still, where am I at for the week? I'm still at 6-1 for the week, so 7 trades so far. So it's still not a bad week for me. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where I was only getting like a couple trades a week. So even at this rate, if I don't get another setup, like I'm happy with the day. The numbers aren't big, but they're working towards the goal. And yeah, I'm ready for another setup if it comes. But if it doesn't, that's all right. I know it's an FOMC day, and those days are always a little janky. Now I'm just looking at this because there's a new low first entry short. So depending on where the second entry short may occur, if it were to happen like right here, now I'd be going into the previous day low from the other side, which might act as support. So I wouldn't take that trade either. It would have to close below it for me to consider taking it. It doesn't look like that's happening anyway right now, but just thought I would mention it. And it's interesting. Now the chart I'm on and the other chart I have are pretty close together too. So they're in very much similar alignment. Like my first 2 charts were in alignment. Yeah, I'm actually just going to take a couple minute break right here. I'll be right back. All right, so I just got back. It looks like I lost another chart while I was away. Let's see here. This chart ticked under here, ticked under here. Again, this was the example I was just describing. This is the example I was just describing where you get an entry going right into the previous day close. What was resistance can become support, and that trade would have lost. So that's two examples today. I mean, I wasn't here for this one. I literally just walked back, but it's two examples of my new rule. The first one I did avoid, and in this one I would have also avoided taking a loss here. That when I was trading with no rules, this would have been my loss today. So good sign, but that leaves me now with one last chart here, which is now setting up a similar situation where first entry short under this bar, and now if another second entry short forms, if it's big enough, it'd be going right into that same previous day close if this bar gets big enough. And this is kind of the thing I was talking about when I started my day. When these levels are really this close together, it makes it really difficult for me because like how close is too close or how far is far enough to take a trade like this when it's going into this level. And it's not a very wide area. So, you know, I am going for very small scalps, but, you know, if this were to trigger here, maybe that's enough room, or maybe it's not. It's just hard to say because, like, is the resistance going to be so strong, or the support can be so strong from this that even if it's up here, it's still working against you and it'll push up again. And then the previous day high line, this red line, doesn't seem to be so strong as resistance because it pushed up here and it had a failed break out of it and came back in, but it didn't resist it there. Not like it played as support here and played as resistance this one time here. So I'm just looking at these kinds of levels very specifically. And so you see this bar is getting bigger. The bigger it is and the further down it is, the less I would want to take this trade. So my thinking right now is I'm going to stay out of this trade and just play it safe. And it's an FOMC day, so you know, I came in prepared to not have any trades today, honestly. So the fact that I have even one is a good day. And then, you know, we'll see. I'm just going to watch this and make a decision as it closes, if it happens. All right, so you can see, look, it's probably going to trigger down here. Big bar all the way, again, now close to it. So in theory, yeah, there's enough room before the previous day clothesline that I'm concerned about, but it's just not worth the risk. It's too close, and we've already seen these kinds of trades fail today. So I'm going to sit on my hands and just observe and see if it comes into play at not, if it even triggers, because it hasn't triggered yet, obviously. All right. This market is just brutally slow. Doesn't even look like it's going to give me a chance to see what it would do, but I'm going to have the same problem up here if it forms a second entry like above the red line here, previous day close. I would have the same issues. So, because these levels are so close together, it's just like an area where I'm probably going to stay out no matter what in this area if something were to form or trigger. So today's probably not going to be a very exciting day, but I'm sure most of us realize these FOMC days are like this leading up to it. Hopefully once FOMC is out of the way, it does whatever it's going to do. Hopefully it'll lead to a lot of good action for the next 2 days to finish the week. All right, I'm just going to hang until something happens here. All right, I'm watching this one. So if we can close underneath, I might be willing to take this. If we can close underneath the red line, have a first entry, second entry, and using that as resistance, maybe. And if it closes somewhere up here, I have a lot of space. Plenty of room to the EMA, plenty of room to the previous day's close. But if it closes above, I'm probably going to stay away because that would be a situation where I'm observing if the close were above, but the trigger is below. So far, those work that way, but I'm still observing. I don't want to push too far down here. If it goes more than like halfway of this bar, then I'm concerned again about how much room I have. It's just going to be a judgment call based on where the close is, how much room I have, like how much room from here to here. It's 5.5 points. So let's see where the close is. I'll make a decision. Now again, if this is one of those situations where it closes above and then triggers below, then I will just observe and not trade it. I have a feeling that's what it's going to do. If it does trigger at all, I have a feeling it's going to close up here. Wow. Look at that. The close, I mean, practically closed on the line. Maybe one tick below. Doesn't look like it's gonna, what is it gonna do? If it comes back down here and triggers down here, I'm just gonna stay out of it just because of the nature of how it wanted to close right at that line. It may still work because so far, I think 4 out of 4 or 5 out of 5 times that I've been observing this situation, if it were to trigger below this bar, so far it's worked every time still, even in this situation, or even if there was like a clear close above it, if the trigger happened below, it's been working. But given the day being FOMC and in my mind, I'm already a little bit resigned to the fact that I'm only going to have the one trade today. Yeah, look at this. So there's just enough room to the bottom of these bars to give me my scalp, but I want to see these work. You know, I've seen them work so far like around 5 times. I want to keep observing and making sure that these are going to be good trades for me. So I'm not going to, well, it really does look like it wants to trigger it. I'm not going to take it in this case if it does. And now it's pushing. Interesting. All right, so this is another case where now if this bar were to close below it, maybe I'd want to take it. Or this can even engulf, and it's probably a good entry. But I'm just going to sit on my hands in this case. It'll probably work. It just triggered. I think it'll work because that's a good level to trade off of. And you got room to the EMA and you got room to the previous day close. So I think it's a trade I should have taken. The only thing that gave me pause is just because of what I was thinking here and because it's engulfing. Engulfing is always a little bit more dangerous, but look, here it goes. Hasn't quite got into... Now it has. Now I would have locked in my profit. So yeah, that's a good trade. I probably should have taken that one. Because I was already thinking how I was about this bar and kind of ruling it out in my mind. I didn't think about the possibility of, when it pushed up that it might then reject. And so because I'd already kind of had a preconceived notion, I just decided to stay out of it. But in hindsight, if I hadn't been kind of thinking defensively the way I was, then I think that trade would have definitely fit my rules. Using that level as resistance, there was enough room to the EMA, enough room to the bottom of these bars, enough room to the previous day close for my scalp. It's too bad too, because my next trade I was going to take on BA2, so that would have helped the cause a little bit, but that's all right. All right, so at this point it's 8:30. I'm not planning on trading beyond 9 or 9:30 at latest. And I am down to just this one single chart at this point because all my other charts had entries that eventually had an entry that didn't work. So either time will run out, or there will be no more setups, or I'll get a trade and it'll be a winner or a loser, and that'll probably be my day. So one of those three scenarios will probably be how the day ends for me. But I'll give it at least a half hour more and see what happens here. All right. This is just extremely slow. This was an option. I could have taken this trade, kind of talked myself out of it based on the bar previous to this bar. That would have been a good trade, clearly. But I've got one trade today. I knew waking up today, being FOMC day, it was likely to be, a day like this where it's just not a whole lot going on. So I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of, if I was going to take a trade, it should have been, well, not that one. Where was I? Should have been this one. This could have easily been my second trade of the day. I had reasons to decide I wasn't looking for a trade anymore. But when this bar went above, broke out, and then failed back in and engulfed, there probably really wasn't any reason to not take that. I had just already made up my mind before that even happened. So I should have been a little bit more open-minded to the possibility of what would happen with this bar. And but that's all right. I've got one win today, which is honestly more than I thought I might have today. Because when I woke up and turned on the charts and saw what was going on, I just thought to myself, okay, I turned on the charts in this area. I just thought to myself, okay, FOMC day, it's going to be one of those days. Probably won't even have a trade. And but fortunately, I did get one. So I got this one. And this one I liked. Clearly off the resistance that was being played there of the previous day close. And the only thing I didn't like about it was just how stacked up the bars are, but that's not a rule that I apply to my trading really anymore. So I took the trade without thinking much of it. Got a little bit less in terms of profit than I would have liked, but I'll take it. And that's really going to be it for me today, I think. I think I'm better off to just move on with my day and not get caught up in something. And out of the four charts I started with, this is the only, which one is it? Out of the four charts I started with, this is the only chart that still hasn't taken any entries that have not worked. So considering the price movement, the FOMC news coming up, there's just going to be less and less trading leading up to that news, I think. And so, I could probably sit here another half hour and still not get another setup, or maybe get another setup that, I'll second guess for one reason or another. So better just lock in the profits for the day and move on, I think, to a day where there'll be more opportunities anyway. So one to note today, 6-1 for the week, 86% so far, and 141 wins and 33 losses on the year, 81%. Was 174 trades already this year. It is amazing to me. I can't believe I have that many trades. Only with this system that I'm trading now have I been able to get that many trades in this amount of time. So I'm going to be closing in on 200 trades for the year, probably in the next week and a half or so, I'm guessing, which is pretty great. And I'll do a quick review video, but as you can see, I had an evaluation that renewed and reset. So starting balance, starting drawdown, and this evaluation not too far off from passing. This one, it's about a third of the way there. This one is very close to passing. This one about a third of the way there, a little over. This one is going to be renewed and reset in about a week or so. And this one is the one I've dug out of the ground. This one was within 500 or 600 of the drawdown not too long ago, and now I'm back above starting balance. And see, we're at about 2,000 drawdown now, so it's not bad. Need another 500 to have the full drawdown, so I'll keep working on that. And PA2, still struggling to get this to the payout, but obviously in good shape. A lot of trading days, 32 days. PA6 have traded 17 days. I'm up $250, so You need another 1,350, so ways to go there. And I'm gonna have to work on this PA number 7 and get it back over starting balance and try to get working towards the goal again. So that's it. 80% discount still going on. You can use this code or any other. Like and subscribe if you want to continue following this journey if you haven't already. Appreciate anyone that's joined me to watch. Anyone that today I only had my friend Sagi joining me to talk in the chat here. That was my dog. He wanted to get out of my room. So yeah, I appreciate anyone that joins and participates in the chat. I always like that. And I think that says it all for today. So I'll be back at it tomorrow. Hopefully you guys have had a good trading day and good trading week so far. And watch out for that FOMC news. Play it well, play it smart. Hope it works out for you if you do decide to take some trades around that time. And be back at it tomorrow. Good luck.